And hopefully you can all see my screen. Welcome today for our monthly data portal lunch break. We're talking about tools that are available in the CCH2 or Consortium of California Herbaria portal. It is a Symbiota-based portal. And today we're going to be talking about loan management in CCH2 and other Symbiota-based portals. And I will tell you right off the bat that they have undergone a lot of development, but there's still plenty of development to happen. They're still a little bit rudimentary, but I'm just going to show you some of the general functionalities. And I'm actually interested, and I think James is as well, to hear if anyone has any feedback about the loan management tools or things that they wish could happen in the loan management tools. James, did you want to comment on that?
No, just that I'm very interested in, we might be able to build some things.
Cool. Yeah, James is a developer and as well as curator. And so he has some ideas about updates to the tool as well. Okay, so in the loan management tools in CCH2, you can do kind of the basics. You can input outgoing loans. You can receive incoming loans. This is especially nice if they have sent you or they have tracked an outgoing loan and you can just receive it right there in the portal. And then it's also a place where you can manage gifts and exchanges so that you can kind of keep tallies of exchanges or just, say like we gave this many specimens to them at some time. All right, so let's go ahead and just pop into the portal. So to access your loan management tools, you will need to log in. This is something that anyone with editing permissions can access, which is nice because then you can have your students manage your loans if you have any student curators without giving them full administrative control. So how I got to this page is if you start on the home page, you log in and go to My Profile. You click on Occurrence Management. Then you click the name of the collection that you're going to manage. For many of you, there's only one collection listed. And then it will be right here in the Data Editor Control panel. Let me zoom in a bit. And it's right here on the bottom where it says Loan Management. So just as I mentioned on this slide previously, there are three convenient tabs. There is the outgoing loans, the incoming loans, and the gift and exchanges tabs. So if you wanted to create a new loan, then you would come over to this green plus sign, and then you would just give some basic information. So you select an institution from the list, and you can give a loan identifier. So this collection is doing the year plus some number. So if I'm keeping with the same numeric, I would probably do 2022-4. One interesting thing to note is that this institution list is not the same as the collection list. So if you look at the list of collections that exist in this portal, it does not match this institution list. And that's because these are two separate tables, because you might have collections that you want to send or receive specimens to or from that are not in your portal. So for example, University of Colorado is not in the California portal. The Charles Maurer Herbarium is not in the California portal. And you are also allowed to add institutions. I think if you just have administrator permissions, you can do this. I might have to check on that, but you can add a new institution if it's not here on the list. One tricky thing that has been noticed by a couple users is that this doesn't really have any deduplication checks. So at times you might find that there are two institutions with the same name. And I recently went through and got rid of those duplicates and made sure that we only have one institution per line. But just make sure to double check before you add any institutions that institution isn't already here and maybe just has a different name than you were expecting. So for example, when people refer to University of Nevada, Reno, sometimes they'll call it UNR. And so you might be like, oh, I don't see it. Oh, actually, I think we do have that problem here. We already have this problem where we have UNR because technically their herbarium acronym is Reno, not UNR. So these two will need to probably be deduplicated. In any case, just know that that's a potential problem. And if you see any duplicates, let us know and we can fix those in the back end. Okay, so loans. Once you create a loan, and I'm just going to open an existing loan, you can add a certain number of information here. So you can say who you're sending it to, exactly who is requesting it. You can give a description. And then one really nice feature is that you can add specific specimens from your collection. You no longer just have to say 5 specimens of this taxon or have to manually type in everything. What you can do is if you click on this Specimens tab, you can click on link specimens via list of catalog numbers, and you could copy and paste a list of catalog numbers. So, you know, if that person emailed you and said, hey, I want all of these, you can just boop right in there and load them all in. Or if they give you a list, you know, based on collector names or something, then you could pull the folder and then scan the barcodes in so that you don't have to individually type them as well. And then as you scan, you're going to see the table of specimens show up here. And then when you receive the loan back, then you can check the specimens in. That means returning them. So you're saying that they have been returned. Then you can either click on one of these check-in specimens links, or as you noted here, this is the same interface. It's just you say, do I want to link or do I want to check in? So multiple ways of getting to the same place. Another nice thing that you can do is once you have, and let me go to a different loan because I think this one doesn't have a bunch of specimens linked. No, that one doesn't either. Let's go to an old one maybe. Okay, so here's what it looks like when you have specimens linked to your loan. And you could individually say when specimens are returned in case they don't return the whole thing to you. If I clicked on check-in specimens via scanning barcode, then I could do that here. That's like you're bringing them in and you're checking to make sure that they're all in good condition. Or you could display batch form, which means you add this little checkbox on the side and you can check them all in, or you can check only a few of them in, all with the click of one button after you've checked which ones you want to bring in. You can also remove specimens from your loan, you know, if you accidentally added them by doing this as well. So you could be like, oops, I didn't mean those two. You could check those and remove them from your list. What I was going to say before is that if you check them in and they have new determinations on them, that's also a thing that you can do right in this interface. If you click add new determinations, let's say that they said, you know, all of these consinus were all confirmed to be consinus. So most people who annotate the specimens, if it's the same taxonomic name, will have the same format. You know, they will have done it on the same day. So it's really convenient. You could just put in that information here, put the name of the determiner and the date, and that will add those new determinations to these selected specimens at one time. So that way you don't have to go and look them up, individually add determinations. It's right there in the loan management module. And then another helpful tool is that while you are preparing a loan, you can also export the specimen list. So that's a nice thing that you could just print and put it right in with all your loan paperwork so that people have all the data associated with their specimens. And then lastly, with regard to outgoing loans, you can print your loan paperwork. You can export it as a Word file or just print it right in the browser. And it will automatically populate stuff with the institution that you give and then your institution, and it will just give you some wording already. So that's helpful. There's also a Spanish version, which is nice. You can do a bilingual version. That's probably pretty new. And then you can delete loans if you need to, but you have to unlink all of your specimens first if you were to do that. Hopefully you won't have linked loans if you are going to delete them, or specimens if you're going to delete it, but that's just another option. Okay, so for incoming loans, this happens when someone else has created a loan and they link you as the recipient. You can look at this incoming loan and check in those specimens pretty much using the same interface here and say, yes, I received all of these specimens. So it looks very similar. And then you can make sure that they all appear. And then when you return them, you can also generate loan paperwork and say, this is a return of all these specimens that you gave me access to. So that's just a nice way of being able to share between institutions and not have to duplicate effort. Okay, last but not least, we have gifts and exchanges. So gifts and exchanges, gift is just like, we gave you some specimens and we don't need to hear about it ever again. And then exchanges are generally when you kind of send specimens back and forth, and kind of the idea is that if you send someone specimens, they will probably send specimens back to you. If that is your agreement, some people just will send gifts and it's fine. Sharing is caring. So if you want to create a gift or exchange, you can click again the plus sign. And I'm just going to go to an existing gift or exchange. So they are the specific instances of a gift or exchange are listed underneath the institution that is that you're exchanging with or gifting with. And so you can, when you create one, you select an institution, and then it provides a new instance of a gift or exchange underneath this. So if I just clicked on this one, it gives me a table, and it doesn't ask me to give any specific catalog numbers or anything. In fact, you can't put catalog numbers on it because I think the idea is that if you're going to be giving them specimens, hopefully you won't have already put your own barcodes on them because they're probably going to want to put their barcodes on them. You can either say, look, I have given 4 as a gift, or you could put them as exchange. And the difference between gift and exchange here is that if you put it in gift, there is not going to be like a running tally of how many specimens have been given and received. But if you do put it in exchange, then you probably saw back here, it will give you a balance. So if you have received more than you have given in that exchange, then it will give you a negative number. So it says basically like you owe them 100 specimens. But in this case, I guess we don't have any of those. So these are all like, they owe us 127 specimens. So those are kind of the 3 types of ways of managing loans, gifts, and exchanges. There are probably little details that I didn't go into, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And if anyone has any comments, if they've used the loan management tool and would like to be able to do something, I'd also love to hear that. All right, one question. Today we received specimens on loan for destructive sampling. Would these be coded under gift? That is, they aren't expected back. I would think that if they're completely being destroyed, that would be a gift because they're not expected to be returned. Unless you want to code them as an exchange and they expect to receive some specimens in return.
Katie, one question I have is that the way that we were keeping track of exchanges before was, like an old Excel spreadsheet. And so is there a way to like bring those balances in post hoc,
That's a good question. I think you would have to add them individually. I mean, what you could do is just make one exchange event per institution and just say like, we have a total balance of whatever.
Right. Okay. So you can do an exchange and just have it be a negative number.
I
Or a
don't know
positive
if you
number.
can do a negative number.
So I can add something to this.
Sure.
To do a new exchange, there's a transaction type little drop down, and you can say either shipment or adjustment. And if you would do adjustment, you just put in a positive or a negative number. And so you could just put in that number for whatever you're at for each institution once.
Does it allow you to do a negative?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. That's what we did when we converted to this.
Cool. So what he is saying is when you click on this new gift, you can say, this is just an adjustment. I didn't actually receive any specimens. And then, whatever it is, once you create that exchange, then you could say, I owe them 15 specimens in this case. And so then if I return to the loan index, you'll see that I owe this collection negative, well, I owe them 15 specimens.
That is really helpful. Thank you.
And in this case, it didn't show up, I think, because this institution doesn't have an acronym. And so the code is telling it to provide an acronym, which will link to the specimen or to the institution. And that doesn't exist. So I'm going to have to go fix that. Any other questions? Yeah, Dawn, you're muted currently.
Sorry.
No worries.
It's been a while. I think I last entered a loan in 2019. I can see things have been updated nicely. Thank you. But is there, I saw a note in the one you were using as an example that had a due back, and I didn't see if that was a due back field or a note. And my question is there a field and is there a reminder that could be built in that says, either send it back or this hasn't been sent back?
That's a good question. And I actually was looking for that as well. Like when you open up the paperwork, is that what you're saying? There's a due back date?
It was when you were going through your example and entering information or showing information that had been entered, there was one that had this loan. It was in the notes. Okay. I didn't get to focus on
there's a due date field right up at the top.
Okay.
Right there. So you have your date sent and your due date.
Okay.
And you typically, people do that for a term of 2 years, but whatever is appropriate for your collection. And then I don't know why it's also in the notes thing. That just might have been something odd I was doing.
Does a reminder, is it possible to pop some, literally we forgot. I mean, I'm being honest, we just forgot. And then it was like 3 years after the fact, it's like, oh, we went to look for some of those specimens, went, curse word deleted. They're not here. We need to find them. Oh, they're on loan. Is there a way to?
Currently, no. I don't think there's any sort of notification system.
Okay.
Genevieve.
Yeah, for that, it's really nice. Like, this is awesome. And I'm going to use this. I'm sorry, Allison, that I didn't use this for the exchange that we did today. For gifts and exchanges, is there any way to create like a upload CSV sheet that would be provided if you're giving it to the other person so that they can, when they're managing, like ingesting the new data for the specimens, if they're not already like linked, because if it's barcoded stuff because they're cloning, right? Like if you can create kind of like, hey, here's a little spreadsheet of all the exchange material we're sending you, or the gift material, and you can, adjust it as you need to fill in those extra forms. Is that something that's possible, or is that something that I should just like email people?
It's currently not possible in the tool, but you probably would just send it along with the paperwork. Just be like, here's a PDF of the paperwork, and here's also the data sheet.
And then it would be Allison's job to just import that data sheet once she has brought them into her own collection.
Well, I mean, she's gonna like completely destroy them, so it'll be fine.
Well, then if you don't need the data in the collection, then not a big deal.
Yeah, no, this is like for other like gifts and exchanges. If there's like a giant package going out, and that just saves people, because I know when people send me spreadsheets, it saves me an enormous amount of time to organize like the specimens that I'm going to upload. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be the case regardless of whether you uploaded it in the tool or just sent it via a spreadsheet.
Just
One
for
other
the
thing-
record,
Oh.
everybody, I'm not like stomping on herbarium specimens. This is for DNA analysis.
I got that. No worries.
Just wanted to be clear.
Don't send anything to UC Davis. They just destroy them. One thing that I've been doing in this situation, so sometimes when you're sending exchanges or gifts, they're duplicates of stuff in your home collection. And I actually had a stamp made that says in CCH2 so that I could stamp the newspapers just for as a little bit more information, just so people realize that the data is already in there. And when they bring that record in, they can just search by duplicate. I think most people do that as part of their workflow anyway, but I did make that stamp just for fun.
Yeah, so you could go through, you could import, if you, for example, image those specimens, you can import those images just as naked skeletal records. All they are is like an image and a barcode. And then you can have whoever is working with those start the transcription process. So put the collector name, number, and date, and then use the duplicate searching tool to just import that data directly from the duplicate rather than having to create a spreadsheet. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thanks for joining me today, you guys. I hope this was useful for you.